Dorothy, you're not. Dave? Paul? Paul? There you go. Okay. Call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, November 15th, 2021. It is 7 p.m. Oh, it says, I read 21 because it said 21. Thank you. We're at the Genoa Township Hall at 5111 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio, 43081. We have 3 agenda items tonight, and this is the order in which we will consider them. BZA case 2022-08, 4777 Worthington Road, which is an area variance. BZA case 2022-09, which is 6916 Worthington Road, which is also an area variance. And then we have BZA case 2022-10, which is 6241 South Old 3C Highway, which is an area variance. I will call the roll. Mr. Boone.
Aye, here.
Ms. Driscoll.
Here.
Ms. Yu.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Okay, and the chair is present. Before we go any farther, I want to read this into the record, this statement into the record. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson, me, may limit repetitive debate, which hopefully tonight we won't have. I generally will let people speak, but when it becomes repetitive, then there's not much new information. So first item on the agenda is the minutes from the last meeting, which was held on September 20, no, is it September 27th? Oh yeah, it is September 27th, 2022. Excuse me. I'll give you a moment to review those, and I will entertain a motion to approve.
I would second it. We have to add that the dates changed at the top, that's all.
No, that's on the script. That's not on the,
Okay.
the minutes are correct. Okie dokie, anybody? Motion?
Motion.
You good, Dave?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as for September 27, 2022 as written.
Thank you.
And I will second it.
Dorothy seconds. Okay, any discussion? Any items that need to be corrected? I didn't see anything when I looked through them.
I didn't either.
Okay, then I will call for the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes from September 27th, 2022, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries and the minutes are approved. All right. At this time, at 7:04 p.m., we will open our first case, the public hearing for our first case. And I will read the legal notice into the record. Tigran and Irma Safarian requesting approval, and I apologize, I'm sure I will just absolutely murder your name. Requesting approval of a variance to allow a wall along the front entrance to exceed the maximum allowed height of 8 feet at 4777 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, which is currently zoned rural residential, RR, and this is BZA case 2022-08. And those of you that wish to speak or testify on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Everybody, we don't charge extra, go ahead. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Great, thank you. Be seated. Okay. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on November 1st, 2022 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on October 27th, 2022. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property were also made. We will accept into evidence Exhibits A through D, which includes the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, and the staff report. And at this time, we'll begin with staff's report.
Thank you, Mark. So as noted in the legal notice, the subject property is located at 4777 Worthington Road. It's a 10-plus acre parcel. So 2 walls were constructed on either side of the driveway entrance to the property. And those walls were constructed at about an 11-foot height, and the code maximum height for a wall in the zoning resolution is 8 feet. The application actually states that they are asking for a variance from section 1605.05A, which regulates entrance features, but based on the definition that's in the code for an entrance feature, these are classified as walls. So staff would suggest that the variance, if granted, be to section 2002.03, which is the code section for accessory walls.
And just to clarify, even if it would be considered an entrance feature, which I believe is only for developments, not for...
It's based on the length of the wall, so this one exceeds the length in the code.
Right. So it wouldn't be legal per code, whether it be an entrance feature or currently as it is, it wouldn't be legal as an entrance feature.
Entrance
or a
feature
fence.
maximum height is 8 feet.
Right.
Wall maximum height is 8 feet, so
Okay, that's
the
my point.
request is basically the same, just
Right.
the code sections.
I agree. Okay, thank you.
We did send legal notice, or a copy of the legal notice, to adjacent property owners, posted a sign on the property. We also sent copies of the application to police, fire, maintenance. None of those departments had any concerns. I don't have anything else if...
Okay, do you want to talk about H?
about...
Phone calls, and I know we got forwarded 2 emails.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we did receive several phone calls, and we did receive 2 emails, which we forwarded on to the board, so you all
Right.
got copies of that. Most of the comments were not favorable,
Right.
so.
Were any favorable
Um,
or more neutral?
I think I talked to somebody who, wasn't really one way or the other, just saw the sign and wanted some additional information.
Yeah.
But I'd say most of the comments were not in favor.
Okay. And I think we all read the emails. And just, since we're here, I was a little, not troubled, but I noted that one of the emails asked the question, who approves this? Which I think if for a variance, it's us, or if it's conforming, it's the township. So I guess there's some ignorance out there, I guess. So, but just to clarify, I think it's important that the residents understand that, yes, we're all residents. Yes, we all live in Genoa Township. Some of us have lived here I've been here 23 years. I know Teresa's been here quite a while. I know Dorothy's been here quite a while. I think Dave's been here quite a while as well. And so we didn't just come in from out of town to make a decision on this. We're all residents, we're all invested in the community, and we all have been for quite a number of years. So moving on. Does anyone have any questions for staff at this point? Dave?
I do not.
No? Dorothy? No? Paul? No?
No,
Okay,
it's not, yeah.
then we will hear from the applicant if you introduce yourself and then walk us through your application.
Hi, my name is Ty Safian. Did I get up or what's the? I
No,
can
you
sit
can
down.
sit there.
Sit down.
No, you're,
can stand
oh,
at the podium or you can
there
stay
or
there,
at the
yeah.
podium, whichever
Either
you
one.
prefer.
You guys don't mind. My name is Ty Safian. I'm also a resident of the Juneau Township. Steve Atikian is my brother-in-law, married to my sister. We're also been in Juneau Township for 15 years. Probably more actually.
Could you state your address, please?
6280 Brainboard Drive. It's one street over of Jaycook, and then,
I'm at 4830 Chantry Drive in Sheffield Park,
so we are also members
Okay.
of our,
16 years plus.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, so, we build, obviously, two houses.
Now, you're the property owners or you're the builders?
We're property owners.
Property owners.
Property owners, okay, good.
My house to the white house, and then his house is a beige house.
Okay, so I assume you're either, are they occupied now or are they, they're not occupied? They're still currently under construction?
Yeah.
I see.
Almost.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Oh,
Very, very
yes.
I want to make sure that everybody understands the signage is permitted for the size of signage. And the white space, if you guys can get a little bigger there, the white space is permitted. That Greek, so if you look at this, that Greek piers is the one which says 3 foot higher, but, yeah. And those piers is the ones higher. That space, it's permanent. That's that area. Actually, yeah, so that area is the higher. Well, that space where it says that in the middle, it's permanent. That Greek, basically that Greek statue, that the area is the ones we're here for. That 3 foot a little higher than the permanent. I mean, I know we're saying that's a little higher, it is 11 foot, I agree, but as you guys see, the houses, they're not also regular houses either. So they're a little bigger than, a lot of houses. So, and it's not like we came up with something. Design people who did the design for the houses, they're the one who designed that. And at a time, we didn't know that we need a variance. Actually, we found out when we came in for a signage, that's where we found out that we need a variance for that. So, that's basically it. And anybody have seen it, they say how beautiful it is. I'm sure there's, we have a lot of residents in our neighborhood, and
Let me ask either staff or the applicant. I saw at a point that there was going to be 4 lots. It was going to be subdivided into 4 lots, and then you didn't proceed with that, or can you clarify that for
Joe
me?
did sign off on a lot split so that there were 4 lots there, but it was never recorded. So currently, there are only 2 lots. The one to the north with Mr. Safarian's house on, and I believe his sister and brother-in-law's house is the one to the south.
South,
And
as I
then
look at the plan
both
here.
of these, the walls are on the lot to the north, because,
And so they're accessed through a common access drive, it's not a dedicated street, correct?
correct. It's a CAD.
it's just not street, it's private property.
Right, common access drive.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not
So-
us.
I mean, it's recorded and built to county standards, but it's a common access drive. And then, though, Mr. Safarian said the section of the walls will have signage on them that say Armenian Estates.
Oh, I see.
And like you said, that's when it was brought to our attention that the walls were over the height and all is when the sign package came in for approval and they applied for the signage. So, I mean, we've had lots of conversations back and forth
Many,
for
many.
quite some time. And the last conversation I had with, I think your general
Russ, yeah,
contractor,
I see.
we kind of went over this signage numbers, and those, I think, those are all good. So they'll be able to pull this permits for the signs administratively without any variances needed. It's, the
It's
only
just the
thing
height
is the height.
issue.
It's between 8 foot and 11 foot.
Yeah, it's basically the area over the open space that we're really looking at this point. Okay. All right. Okay. Go ahead. Were you finished or?
Yeah, that's basically it,
Okay.
and there's a space around it, and so that's, the way it was built is, it was built to match the houses, and designers were hired, that's the ones who, they came up with all this stuff.
Sure.
And, you know, basically, I mean, I know there was a, on Facebook, it was, you know, a lot of things going on, what's going on there.
Oh,
And I-
that always happens.
No,
with
which
signs.
is, we're absolutely fine, we're, I
That's
mean,
very normal.
yeah. No, actually, I have done, I mean, I'm in commercial, I do a lot of commercial properties, and then, I did a lot of variances commercial-wise. I mean,
Well, there you go.
In many states, in many counties and cities, but they were done for residential. I never thought we actually need residential until,
Okay, let me ask you this also. I see on your plan that you submitted that apparently the walls are the walls, and the remainder is going to be, it says proposed 8-foot chain link fence, and that'd be on the north and the east and the south side. Is that correct?
later, we want to put a 6 foot, actually, 6 foot chain link fence.
6 foot.
Yeah. I think they said that you can do 8 foot, but I think actually we only want 6 foot, because once the deer gets in the property, I want to make sure deer gets out of the property.
Anything in the front then, or?
We have an iron fence, but it's 4-foot iron fence. It's also by design. Comes with the iron fence
Which will go out to the property lines, I
to the
assume?
sides, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 4 foot. I think that's actually 3.5 foot.
Okay, all right. Anyone have any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. Then what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to allow those that wish to comment on the application to come forward, state your name, your address, make your comment. You'll have 3 minutes. Please don't make me stop you. And we'll do it in an orderly fashion. Let's hear your comment. Thank you, Paul. Okay, first person, I don't know, whoever, sir, come on up. If you guys want to just come across the rows and we start in the back, we can move towards the front and we'll go from there.
My name's Scott Brader, 4679 Speranza Loop, Galena. I just want to clarify, really, I have questions more than comments. I couldn't understand exactly. So the variance is only for what is existing now?
Yeah, so it's basically, it goes up to 8 foot, you permit it. That area is on top, I asked for variance for that. I mean, the signage, there's no variance for that. That is low, thing on top. That is, that's. This space right here, yes. Yeah. That's basically this space right here.
The pillars.
So then you said across the front, the rest of it across the front is going to be a 4-foot wall?
3.5 will be iron fence. It's black iron fence.
Okay, and then around the property, chain link?
6 foot chain fence.
Okay, so the only variance is what you've already got?
Yeah, that's what we
already
do.
exists?
Yeah.
I just want a clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next people in the next row. All right, sir, you're up. Let's go.
Daniel Swallow, I'm at 6825.
I'm sorry, what was the first name?
Daniel,
Daniel.
yep, 68.
You got to slow down for me.
6825 Fleur Drive.
There you go.
So neighbors, new neighbors actually bought the house because of how it looked.
Well, welcome to Genoa
at the
Township.
time. So we lived in Genoa over in Oaks at Highland Lakes off Ketterington. We just moved about a mile
Okay.
north. And bought it, to have some space and some views and everything.
Sure.
For the kids and everything. our main concerns are there is, obviously, you know, this starts at an 8-foot fence. I've been seeing the grading, the construction. I own a contracting company as well, and I'm recognizing a lot of these things. And while these 3-foot and 4-foot fences and everything all sound very reasonable, there's 2-foot hills built up on a lot of these areas. And so really you start lifting this up. It's blocking our views from the road, blocking views for stuff coming in. I have kids that get on the bus, and that's kind of our sign, looking down the road to see, up the bus is coming, time to get outside. 12 feet definitely blocks the school bus from the view from our house. The homes, I will agree with them. They are beautiful. They are massive and magnificent. They definitely stick out there, and I don't feel that the gate and the fence necessarily, you know, from the chain link fence to this big massive gate, there are different levels there, and so my concern is, you know, how the end product of that looks. If a variance is granted to allow this, and then the next variance is allowed, because we want this to match what it looks like on the front. You know, it says proposed 8-foot chain link. I know he says 6 foot, but I don't know what the process is for you
One's
guys.
legal conforming.
Yeah, either one's in there. And so, since, you know, really the street side is the main thing for us, with the kids, the traffic, you know, being able to see the school buses coming so kids aren't missing the buses, and the views. It's one of the main reasons we moved to a dead-end street. We didn't, you know, we have handicapped children that we don't want the through traffic on. And so it was important to us to be able to see up and down and see what's coming and what's in the area. So I think one of my main questions was answered by the previous gentleman that was up here, making sure that it wasn't a 12-foot wall going across the whole front there. Obviously, I'm adamantly against that, but.
Well, and one thing about, just to clarify, the application is the application. The only thing that we're dealing with are those.
The additional 3
stretches of
feet.
wall. Anything else that happens is a whole nother
Yeah.
case, potentially,
Understood.
or not.
Or not, yeah. That's pretty much my main concerns, you know, trying to, you know, keep the views we have, you know, not, you know, dwarf our homes by making these homes look any grander than they already are. And obviously, you know, yeah, that's pretty much everything I have on it.
Okay.
Appreciate
The
it.
south of this property?
Yeah, so my house backs up to, so I'm just where it says proposed chain link fence on the bottom there of the
Yep.
screen. Yep.
You're in that. on
I think it's actually the lot that has the writing on it.
Oh,
Simmons,
okay.
Jordan is right, okay.
It's that or one of those two right there.
Those
Yeah,
there
one
on
of
the
the,
bottom.
one of
That's what I was
the,
just
that
trying to
or one
get
way or
oriented.
the other. Like I said,
So your lot was getting flooded, I'm the one who took the water away from your house.
yeah, so we've had, yeah, that was a whole nother issue. We've since installed some drainage to try to mitigate the,
We helped you guys out, we took the water away from you guys, now.
yeah, no. it's,
You guys will get flooded, and then
Oh,
we're
yeah,
gonna be for you guys.
we ditched it out and directed it towards the culvert at the road because our yard was flooding from just the grading. But, yep, appreciate your time.
Okay, good, thank you. Who's next? Come on up.
My name is Nadine Long. I'm speaking on.
I'm sorry, what?
Nadine.
Nadine, thank you.
Long. My mother resides, I'm speaking on behalf of my mother who resides there. She's,
Have your address, please?
Hmm?
Your address?
So my address is 1500 Silversmith Lane, Delaware, Ohio, 43015. Her address is 6725 Fleur Drive.
Oh,
Oh, Fleur.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
We know Fleur.
And she's present here.
Okay.
So my name is listed as a homeowner on the property.
That's fine.
So my concern was, my concern is the 12-foot. We are opposed to it going over 8 foot. But my concern was the front, the full frontage, just to make sure that her view wasn't going to be blocked from the road. Because we live there, it was a rural area, and she enjoys seeing the view there. If it is proposed as a iron fence, I'm good with that. But I'm opposed to it being taller than the 8-foot variance for the solid wall that's currently on there.
Okay.
Okay? I also have a petition from a few other neighbors. I didn't know if you would like to accept that.
Sure.
These are just the neighbors that that she went to talk
I'm gonna
to them.
give that to staff. How many signatures do you have there?
There's 2 other signatures on top of my mother's
2,
there.
okay.
Yes, yes,
All right,
yes. Obviously, we do want to be a nice neighbor and welcome him into our neighborhood, but I just, that's what I was concerned about, was blocking her view from the road.
okay,
So, okay,
good.
all right.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Good evening. My name is Jim Vitak, V-I-T-A-K. I live at 6547 Via Florenza Drive. Lived in the neighborhood a couple of years. My comments originally, as the others, started with questions because being new to zoning matters, my impression reviewing the application seemed to infer that there would be this higher wall along the entire stretch of Worthington Road, and I've heard you repeatedly tonight say that's not the case. It will not be such. A couple other general comments to the point here. I frankly was surprised to discover that the township allows a wall of 8 feet. I've driven many areas of the community, and I don't recall seeing one single wall. Now, maybe I've missed this. I'm used to seeing those types of walls along freeways as noise barriers. And also, I guess the idea of chain link. This estate is magnificent. It's certainly, an improvement to our community. It's very aesthetic. I don't really have an issue with the structure as it exists at the entrance. I'll state that for the record. No issue with that whatsoever. I would have an issue were it to be extended further. I'm frankly not real thrilled to hear about chain link fence around the property. Again, I don't recall seeing chain link fences in Genoa Township. I'm sure there probably are some. In my community of Mirasol, I guess it's a homeowners association that doesn't allow it, and maybe it's the same with Sheffield Park.
That's the case in a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
developments.
Okay,
When you get out in the rural area on the other side of Hoover, you're gonna find some.
okay. Well, I would encourage beautification to go in keeping with the magnificent, structures that you're creating there. I'd love to see some magnificent landscaping along the front, and maybe you have plans for that. Okay, well, fantastic. I'm happy to hear that. I guess I'm not too surprised, but, we don't get these details or facts. So, given that, as I say, I think, the aesthetics is kind of a mishmash, in my view, to do with chain link fence around the property. I don't get it, frankly. I think, if you're trying to keep animals out, trying to keep people out, I don't know, but it just doesn't sound like it fits the character of the property, especially the property, much less our community. But I guess you can't do anything about that if that's part of the grandfathered, statutes that you have, unless you would,
Grandfathered, it's in the zoning resolution.
You could change it.
So
yeah.
we do not have a property maintenance code. We do not have architectural review. The zoning resolution does not dictate fence material or wall material. Like you said, that is all in subdivisions. That's all covered by deed restrictions. The zoning resolution allows, it has to be set back off of the road right-of-way a certain distance to be higher than 36 inches. It has to be set back at least 20 feet from the road right-of-way, which the existing walls are set back much further than that. So if the new fence is adjacent to those, they will be compliant with the zoning resolution. And like I said, we don't dictate building materials. So,
Okay.
And that's not something that this board reviews either.
Okay, well,
It's
thank you.
only what was submitted on the application.
Okay. All right,
Why
well,
you don't see any is because of the HOAs.
I'm sorry,
That's why you don't see any fences for the time.
because of the HOA.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank goodness for
That's
those.
how we control.
Too bad we don't have them more displaced in other areas. All right, well, thank you
Anything else?
for the time and
Thank you, sir.
opportunity to
All
speak.
right,
I really, actually, I just want to, it's gonna be a black, fence, and it's really more than anything to bring, keep the deers away from the back.
Oh, okay.
'Cause our family is really not,
Yeah,
not
seen
different.
dead deer on the
They're
road
just
just
actually
the other
long
day.
gone, there's a middle, right middle property, there's a lot of deers out there.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
okay, thanks. Anyone else? All done? Everybody? No more comments? Okay, then what we'll do is the board is gonna go into discussion. If we have questions, we'll ask you. But it's really now up to us to discuss, so unless you guys have any questions for any staff, the applicant, anything?
I do have one question. The builder of the home was the builder of the walls in the front also?
Yeah.
They were the designer and builder and pulled permits for the homes as far as pulling permits for the walls too, right?
Well, I mean, we do, in our, when we pulled the permit, there was a walls, picture of the walls, but it was not how high it's gonna be for a signs. That was built, in a structural, where we built that walls
Yeah,
there.
but the construction and the builder knew what the heights were gonna be, obviously, because they built.
Well,
it,
actually,
right?
I own the GC who works for me is my full-time employee. I own a lot of commercial properties throughout the town. And he's my full employee. So he is the one who pulled the permit. He's the one who have talked to the designers. My wife, his wife, were all involved in all these things, the coloring and this and that. So they're the ones who, designers, the ones who came up with this. This is what you should do. This is what you should go with. You know, I add some crosses there because we're Orthodox Christians, so we had some crosses there.
I'm just questioning if they knew the construction, the houses and what they were building and the permitting and the right-of-ways and the setbacks and everything in the homes. I believe they knew what the signage structure should have been too.
Well, the things I think we just found out probably, what, 3-4 months ago, that with the signage, I think we were fine with the signage.
So-
Where were the difference were so go ahead.
I mean, we'll work this out. Mr. Safarian thinks that building permits and all were issued at the time with the house. So through our office, we have not issued zoning permits for those structures. So that will have to be done. So if the variance is granted,
So
they'll
the
have to
permits-
get,
The permits for those have not been issued.
we have not issued
Okay,
zoning permits for
okay.
those.
It falls under the building permit. It's under building permit. You don't pull for a sign permit. It goes under building permit. That's walls goes under the building permit as a structural. So the signs, you get a sign permit, but those walls fall under the structural permit when you build I mean, it's between you, I mean, if it's not, we'll pull permit, but,
So they weren't pulled.
Correct.
yeah.
That's all I wanted.
How'd you find out that they weren't?
Well, we had a sign company come in to get a sign, and they said, well, we cannot give a sign permit because of the fact that the structural is 11 foot, and it's supposed to be 8 foot. So there's a 3-foot difference between 8 and 11. So I said, okay, how do we fix that? They're like, you gotta go through the variance. I was like, okay, so how do we do that? You know, fill out this paperwork. So we fill out the paperwork, and here we're right now, and you know, to be here. So, you know, basically, if I take the top off, then I don't need the variance.
Right.
Correct.
So that, you know, that's
Right,
basically-
and that's really the issue that's on the.
yeah, that's the
table. I think we
top,
talked about that
piece, yeah. If
earlier.
I take the
Is
top
that
piece,
if this-
I really wouldn't need the
If
permit.
this piece
Right.
isn't here, you don't need to be here.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, that's the only,
Yeah.
so I mean, I know some people said about schooling.
Right.
You know, it's on the way for schooling. I mean, gosh, who looks at 11 foot high, you know? And some people said about the mother's view. It's actually from that point to the first street is about 400 foot. Actually, from that point where we're looking right now, the gate, and the first street, the end of my property is 370 foot. Then there is to the street, and also there is at least 60, 70 foot, so over 400 foot from the street to that signage. So, I mean, I know we have a lot of, concerns, but I just don't really think that the top piece is really means a lot for schoolings or buses or a view of any ways. I mean, like I said, we've been residents of this town, we've been in this town, we have a lot of friends. If I were to ask my friends to come, they're all our neighborhoods, they're all our friends. They're, I mean, like I just really think that's we're here. I mean, I know some people don't like this or that, some people other things, but yeah.
Sure, I understand. Paul, anything?
I have a question for Susan. If we were to attach a variance to this parcel allowing an 11-foot wall, could they or a future owner extend it all the way to the property line, or is this limited to just what's built today?
Well, that was a comment that staff suggested that in the motion, that it's
To limit it?
clarified. I would suggest that they,
It's just limited to what's there.
that it's clarified for the record, that it only pertains to the existing 38-foot sections that are currently exist on the property. And it does not allow for any extension or construction of any future walls at the 11-foot.
Absolutely will not be.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over this again. So if this were considered an entrance feature, they would not need a permit for it. It would just still need the variance to be over 3 feet. But if we, as you suggested, consider it a fence, they do need a building permit for it, or a zoning, or permit.
It's a
for it.
wall.
A wall, right, wall fence, yeah.
It just, they still need a permit
Okay,
either way,
got it.
okay? It's just, it's just what section of the code it falls
Right,
under.
exactly. I didn't know what section of the code also made a difference with needing a permit.
Well, and I think part of
But-
the,
That's no.
I think part of it is too, is that you've got a shared driveway that then opens to, and that you've got the fence on either side of it. So it looks like an entrance feature.
Yes.
Even though for our purposes, it really isn't. It's a
I mean,
fence.
it's a fence with a gate
Yeah,
on the drive. Okay,
exactly.
I got it.
I would, it's already an entrance feature, but for definition for the code,
Right.
they're walls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, my question was
Yeah.
just about permit or not permit, but
Yep.
I got it.
Yep,
Typically, we require a permit for pretty much anything that we have to review for height or, so it still would have a zoning permit.
Okay,
And it is sufficiently set back. It's legal conforming as far as the setback is concerned.
Correct.
Okay.
yeah, I did see it on here.
And this,
Yeah.
and the structures are legal conforming. There's no issues.
But for the height, it only
No,
has
I
to
mean,
be,
the houses and everything, except for the height of the fence itself.
Correct.
Everything else is legal conforming. They wouldn't need to be here otherwise, except for that
Correct.
3 feet. Okay. All right.
Actually, there's a poles up front of them, all them poles getting removed right now. We're putting all the wires underneath so all the poles are getting removed.
Burying the cable.
Yeah, all the frontage poles.
All the utilities.
Yeah, we're waiting for I think the MCI, which is Verizon, to remove their wires, and then
Okay.
everything else got removed already.
Okay. I don't know. I have a few comments, but when you drill this down, just for what it's worth, when you drill this down, I'm not a big fan of the aesthetics, but when you drill it down, it's 2 little stretches across the top of a wall. I've seen worse. Let's put it that way. And it does, I will say, as I said, I'm not really a fan, but it does aesthetically go with what they're building at the back of the property. And knowing what we know now, that these 2 stretches are going to be the only 2 stretches that are going to be like that. Everything else is going to be legal conforming, 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, whatever the number is. anything up to 8 feet is legal conforming. So as maybe I don't care for the aesthetics, maybe they don't care for the aesthetics of my house either. I mean, you know, there's days I don't, but I don't like my neighbor's house some days. But the point is what I like doesn't necessarily mean they should like it,
That's right.
okay? And I will tell you, like I said, I'm not in love with the aesthetics of the project. It's just not me,
But that's
okay?
our point.
And it doesn't have to be me, okay? But I think when you drill down, this is kind of like a couple of cases we've had not too long ago. When you drill down the real issue and really what you're looking at,
Right.
do you really want to make them tear the top of that thing off? I'm not that predisposed to doing it. So that's just my 2 cents worth. So, anybody want to make a motion?
Oh, Duncan v. Middlefield.
What's that?
Go through
Paul?
Duncan at Middlefield.
Have at
Teresa's
it.
got it all worked out.
No,
Have at it, sir, you're up.
is that one that we want to add?
Yeah, we're gonna,
When we hit the
we're
conditions.
gonna, yeah, we're
part.
gonna have a couple of conditions.
Okay.
But, which we talked about, nothing, no surprises, just some, you know, it is what it is. I think everybody in the room knows what it is. And we'll go.
All right. The board reviewed section 307.06.
We're doing the motion, right?
Are we gonna do the motion? You do
Are we doing the
Duncan versus
motion or-
Middle? I think we
I
gotta,
thought we were going, I'm
I
sorry.
think we gotta walk through Duncan versus Middlefield.
Okay, I thought we were doing it as part of the motion. Sorry.
The board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 1605.05.a to allow for a wall to be 11 feet in height in a rural residential zoning district as follows. Property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. Reason being, this is a small portion of a very large parcel that's going to have a home on it and other features as well. The variance is substantial. It's a 37.5% request to go from 8 feet to 11 feet, although one could argue it's not significantly substantial because we're going to limit it to, or we would limit it to what's existing there, which is a small part of the property. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. And I believe that to be because it is just limited to these two small areas flanking either side of the driveway. Variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. I think that's evidenced by the fact that police, fire, and EMS did not respond on this application. Property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. And we take that approach with any application that the zoning code is public and constructive notice has been given to everybody in the township. Property owner's predicament can be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance, although a difficult one, of tearing down the structure, at least the top part of the structure that takes it over 11 feet. The spirit intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. Again, I think it's an undue burden to remove the top part of the wall, and the overall look fits the property and is a minor amount of space on the parcel that we're talking about.
I just have one thing, to change the zoning code section from the 1605.05A to section 2002.03.
Here, I want to mention one thing before we, just to illustrate my point, is that, you know, we're looking at 38 feet times 2, so about 76 feet. You know, the rest of the perimeter of this property is somewhere around 4,000 feet. So it kind of, I mean, 76 feet in the scheme of things is pretty small in my world. So, anyway, go ahead, Paul, I'm sorry.
Well, that was it. Feel free to
Oh, okay.
pick apart any of my conclusions.
No, I would agree. And again, I go back, this is a very, very small, it's less than, it's really 1% of the entire perimeter. You guys got a lot of fence to build. If in fact you build it.
Actually, I know that we asked for it and they said you can go up to 8 foot. I was like,
Right.
we really don't need it. And there's a fence there right
course.
now. Actually,
And-
as we speak, there's a fence there right now.
Right,
That's
and most
throughout the
people
property.
don't, but the zoning code allows it. And because the zoning code allows it, A, doesn't mean you have to do it, but B, it means you can do it. And again, I'll go back to my prior comment, just because I may not like the look of it, or Paul might not like it, or Dorothy might love it, Teresa may love it. These guys love it, obviously, or they wouldn't be doing it. You may not like the look of my house, but we're not an architectural committee, we're a compliance committee. We entertain variance applications and we either grant or deny them. And so it really doesn't have anything to do with the aesthetics. And I think that's all I'm gonna say. So does somebody want to make a motion now that you've done all the heavy lifting over there, Paul? Anyone? Okay, well,
All right.
He'll do the motion.
you gonna make a motion, Paul, or do you, or I can if you,
I'll do it.
We're gonna put the contingencies in there too, right?
absolutely.
Sweet, 72 feet. Okay. I move that we incorporate exhibits A through, I think we're now to E.
I think we're
with
at E, yeah.
the petition, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 2002.03 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA 2022-08, application received October 11th, 2022, to allow for 2 existing walls to be 11 feet high as shown in Exhibit C on property known as 4777 Worthington Road, zoned rural residential. This motion is based on the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. 1, that such a variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest because we feel it is limited and fits the look of the other structures on the property that are being built. That owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because the owners would have to demolish the wall and rebuild it. That the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution and substantial justice shall be done thereby because the owners will be able to complete the project and we're going to limit it to what is already existing over such a large space. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. All required permits, zoning or otherwise, be obtained. 2, no further sections of the wall will be built, so this is limited to a variance allowing a total of 72 feet of wall to be built at 11 feet high on the parcel.
76.
76, I think, isn't it?
Yep, 2 38-foot sections.
38 times 2.
Oh, my math sucks. All right, sorry.
Maybe we can go up to 77, because they're
Is it-
38 and a little more.
Yeah, that's
on each
fine.
of them, so.
Yeah.
So I'll restate requirement 2.
Tear it down to 1 inch.
We're limiting this to 77 total feet of wall built at 11 feet high on this parcel. Any other conditions?
And then, do we have in there that we changed the variance from the section?
Yeah, it was part of the motion.
Was it part of the
It was in the
motion?
script, yeah. It was
Okay.
updated in the script.
Good.
Question number 2.
Go.
Question number 2. Is this a demolish and rebuild, or is it just a removal of the font?
No, this is
However they
an
would
approval
fix
as
it.
is.
No, if
No.
we said no, I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
it's up to
well,
them if they want to just
And
pull it off
based
the
on what
top.
Paul
or-
was stating in number 2, he was indicating that they would have to demolish and rebuild. I
think that was put in the
disagree. I think they just have to
application.
I think
remove
it's
the top.
modified.
Just modify.
I
Yeah,
the
I
building.
mean,
Yeah, I
they have
would
to get it to
agree with
8
that.
feet, and I think the application referred to demolishing it.
Yeah, I think it did
Yeah,
too.
rebuilt,
But yeah.
It's
I think it-
arguable because of the way the columns are there.
Right.
I think it's just remove.
Modify, okay.
Yeah, I would
It
agree.
just has to
I would agree.
comply, I mean, however,
To comply, whatever it takes to comply,
Right.
which would be a modification. I don't think it would be a total removal. Okay. All right, any other discussion? A second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dorothy. Any other discussion? Got awful quiet. Then I guess I'm gonna call the vote. Mr. Boone,
No.
Ms. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. Yu,
no.
chair votes yes. Motion carries. All right. Okay, you're done.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
say that I work with Susan. Susan, thanks so much. You have done a great job. Very easy. I worked with the Dublin, Gehenna, with many places before, and it was very easy to work with the Susan. She actually told us what to do, how to do it, what.
Good.
So I just want to say thanks so much, and thank you, guys.
Good, thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, and the hearing is adjourned, is closed at 7:50. Let's take 5 minutes. Hey, Paul, let's take 5 minutes.
Ready?
All right,
Microphones.
we're back in session at 7:55. And we will call the next public hearing to order. And I will read the legal notice into the record. Everybody that wishes to speak on this, appear and speak on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. Genoa Point Partners LLC requesting approval of a variance to allow construction of a new single-family residence to encroach into the required 50-yard front and rear setbacks for the principal building to allow the driveway to encroach into the required 2-foot setback for a driveway and to allow the turning pad for a side-load garage to be less than the required 24 feet at 6916 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, Lot 8063 in the Genoa Place subdivision, currently zoned suburban residential district SR, BZA 2022-09. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on November 1st, 2022 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on October 27th, 2022. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners continuous to and across the street from the subject property was made. The following marked exhibits A through D, the legal notice, sign-in sheet, application, and staff report dated November 10th, 2022. And we'll begin with staff.
Thank you, Mark. So, this subject property is lot 8063 in the Genoa Place subdivision, which was recorded in October of 2020. Genoa Place subdivision was created by the subject owner applicant. Genoa Place contains 4 lots, and the lots are accessed by a common access drive. So when Genoa Place subdivision was created, the front property lines were determined off of the main arterial street, in this case, which would have been Worthington Road. Shortly after this subdivision was recorded, October 31st, 2020, the Genoa Township zoning resolution was amended and went into effect, and that changed the way the front of the lots were determined, and they are now determined off of the CAD instead of off of the main road. So that changes, this is the last lot to be built on in this lot, or in this subdivision, and that changed the setbacks. So that's what you're seeing here. I did have a note that we originally got a application from the applicant, and then was contacted by his legal counsel, and some changes were made to the application. So I just wanted to clarify for the record that like we were asked to take some pages out, put some pages in, so I'm wanted verification that what's in front of you is what, you know, they want to be in front of you. And then also noted that the section, they were asking for 4 variances. One of those was from section 806.01. And I believe that was a typo, and it should be section 806.05. And I believe the applicant will clarify that this evening and ask for that change for the record.
Where is
05
that,
or
Susan?
06?
Yeah, where's that located, Susan?
So if you look at the application,
Oh, not on the memo.
well, it's on, well, our comments are there.
It says 806.01 on the.
If you look on the application, it says amended variance request and statement of support.
Right.
On that page, so the first variance, it says 806.01, it should be 05. And we did place a sign on the property. We did send notification to the adjacent property owners. We did receive a phone call from the house to the east. They were just wanting to know what the request was and were directed to the website to look at the application. And we did send the application to police, fire, and maintenance. None of those departments had any concerns with the application.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, let's hear from the applicant. You guys, all of you, one of you, some of you, none of you, can come up here to the table and sit, or you can stand at the podium. However you'd like to do it is fine.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, my name's Craig Moncrief. I'm an attorney with the Plank Law Firm. We represent the applicant and property owner. Address is 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43215. Can I approach the board to pass out some packets?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And apologies, yes, point of correction, the one variance, I think I had it listed correctly as far as it's from the front yard setback, but I think I had the wrong number. It was 80601 listed, but it's 80605. So good catch there. Thank you for clarifying that. It is for the front setback. I included this packet because I think it's important to give a history of this property. And the first page is the plat for the 4 lots. This is Genoa Place. It was platted in 2020. As you can see, these are 4 lots off of Worthington Road. You can't see on this plat the common access drive, but you see the easement area to the south. So this was 4 lots intended for single-family development, suburban residential district zoning classification. And you can see each lot had access to the common access drive, and there was some delineation of building lines at the time. So you see there was a 12-foot building line from the CAD, 50 feet to the sides, 12-foot to the northern property line, things like that. And that was based off the old classification for what was a front lot based on the old zoning code. Time goes by. For lot 8061 was already developed. There was a house there. 8062 was developed. 8064 was developed, which just left 8063. And unfortunately, what happened was the zoning code standards changed, sort of flipped the definition of what is a frontage, what is the front lot. And so instead of it being from the actual right-of-way, it changed to, and reasonably so, to distance from the common access drive. Problem being here is that it's sort of rotated the development standards for this property. And as you can see on the second page and what is shown on the big screens, the area in green is the current developable area based on the zoning standards. So as you can imagine, that is a bit difficult to develop in. It's undevelopable, as you can see.
It's a long house.
Yeah, we're an extremely long house there, and going through a stream and a couple easements as well. So the idea behind these variances is to make the lot developable again and to match the character of the neighborhood. As you can see 8062 to the east there, and kind of standard build in this area with the other homes and the other CAD properties is similar to this, with 12 feet off of the CAD line. In this case, it's actually more of a, I'll call it a rear yard setback, basically from the northern property line. As you can see, the property to the east is only 25 feet here. Even though we have to request a variance because it's 50 feet required, it is about 47 feet. So, as I said, the variance requests are really just to make this lot developable again. These are high-quality, single-family homes. And this will match the character of the neighborhood and really what's been developed directly next to these properties, and I think what was really intended for this lot and this area. I also included just an aerial view, which shows kind of the layout of the land, another kind of CAD-type development to the north. Also included a letter of support, actually, from the neighbor to the east. They reached out to the developer today and just said that they're looking forward to finishing up this neighborhood. This is the last of the 4 lots, so it'll be good, a good end to this CAD development. So with that, also have Doug Matty here, the developer, and I believe also the potential future property owner as well. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Dave, Dorothy, anybody? I know. Nothing, yeah, well, even the engineer here.
Well, it was basically because the zoning law changed, right?
Yeah. So there's one comment in there on the turnaround of the driveway. Is that the side turnaround or the back?
It's for the one-car garage. It's for side-loaded garages.
So the question, and I guess this question might be for the developer, is there potential of moving the house to that line in order to?
Here, why don't we have the developer, whichever one of you gentlemen is, come on up, introduce yourself, and then Mr. Boone can address his question.
Sure. My name is Doug Matty, 5863 Zarley Street in New Albany.
So my question would be is to alleviate some of the issue. I'm not opposed to this at all, but I'm just wondering, is there a way to move the house to the back line and pick up your driveway space and alleviate some of the setback problems that you have here by just relocating the house a little bit?
The only variance for the garage is turn radius.
Right. But is that gonna pose a problem for, that's pretty tight, right?
I think it's more about, like, you have the opportunity to back out. It's just more, I guess, the angle, security of it. Based on what the engineer told me, there wouldn't be any issue as far as getting out. It's just there's a little bit of a turn radius issue. And there's an extra 5 feet to the east. But I think as long as you can see, there's plenty of ability to back up to the north.
Nothing's been developed there.
No, the lot's vacant, currently vacant.
This is just the question of whether you push it back and maybe a little bit to the side, then you can alleviate your driveway problem and you can alleviate some of the problem with the setbacks.
The west side of the house, we have pushed up against that drainage easement line already, so we can't go to the west. We could go to the north, but I don't know that that addresses your concern of the turning radius.
But if you threw the turning radius out, could you still push it back and pick up? You could pick up a considerable amount of the setback issue here, the percentage, if you just pushed it back to that back line.
To the sanitary easement line?
If you took this line right here and pushed it to that green line, you would build most of your house in the usable space. Versus in setback. So you remove your you pick up your setback here, but you're using the space that you can use.
I guess either way, we would have to get a 12-foot front yard setback, which every other house.
Well, you're not gonna get it because you're so far in the setback, but I'm saying if you pushed it back, you could pick up the usable space is on the property right now.
Yeah, that would just add 12 feet to the driveway, or approximately 12, right? We pushed it back to the second dashed green line. So, yeah, I don't think we would have any opposition to that.
We're not gonna make them do that, are we?
It's just a plan on paper.
Right,
Nothing's been dug, nothing's been dug or anything, so.
No, but still.
But why wouldn't we put it?
I mean, if this is the house I designed, and
I'm
No,
not.
no, I'm not saying change the house, I'm just saying.
He's just moving it a little bit.
I'm just moving pictures.
He's
I'm
trying to
not a
help.
builder, but how does that help?
It puts the house more inside of the setbacks than outside.
I don't think that's the
but
problem.
it's still gonna need a variance.
He
whether
is.
Still needs a
Yeah.
variance.
He's just trying to be helpful.
The problem is, that for me, is the one-car garage turning radius. I mean, I don't know that there's, God, can you,
So do you know what the width is from your garage to that pavement width? Do you know what it is?
So I know we're asking for an 18-foot circulation.
Do you know what that length is?
Oh, that length there.
Probably the only thing would be in there would be a lawnmower. No.
you see, my concern is,
Probably, I think that's 18 feet.
I don't know if 18's enough.
They may not use it for a car. Just use for a.
Well, I think if it's called a one-car garage, you better be using it, well,
It'd
potentially
be
using it.
designed for one.
Uh-huh. If it's called a one-car, in my world, if it's called a one-car garage, then you better be able to use it as a one-car garage.
I agree.
Even if it
There are three garage.
It's a three-car garage.
I got you. Because my point is A, moving the house up doesn't really do anything for that issue, and that's, for me, a bigger issue than if you don't have a turning radius to get into that one-car garage, then.
I was just trying to use
No, I understand.
usable space.
One concern too, as you can see, so to the west, directly west of the house is a drainage easement.
Right.
And then also directly east of the driveway. So if, there will be an extra 5 feet until the property line, unfortunately, just because there's an easement there. You
Okay,
can't
well,
put pavement
here.
on it.
Is this required, this?
That's already there.
That was required by EMS when we were going through the plating process. So they had a place to turn around their equipment.
Oh, the back turnaround there with the two-car? That
Mhm.
makes sense.
Where's the driveway for 8062?
I think we have that one.
Yeah, I couldn't tell on the very,
Yeah,
Probably
here's
see on the aerial.
8062.
Yeah, I included in the back, in the,
Looks like it empties directly out into the shared driveway.
You should be able to see that.
that
There you
one,
go.
okay.
Yeah.
Wait, no, it's not on.
It doesn't show the
Yeah.
It's on the screen.
Okay, it's there, all right, on that side. Right there.
yeah, so you can see it, and it looks like it's a similar style, because I see basically asphalt drive. It appears to be about 13 feet to back up and then 12 feet wide for the actual driveway itself.
13 feet.
Yeah, I mean, based on where it showed the porch, that was my guess, but I just wanted to ask, so.
13 seems awful short to me when a car is, when your garage is 19 to 20.
Well, if you got a pickup truck, it's 24.
Well, yeah, there you go. Are you gonna be able to,
Purpose
well, you're
of
not gonna
that
park it in.
24-foot is not for turning radius, it's for, that they have room to pull out and not go onto their neighbor's yard.
Right.
So it's not necessarily so that they can turn their car, it's just that there's wide enough so they're backing out and not pulling into their neighbor's property.
I think Mark's saying that there's not enough room there.
Isn't
It's
that
tight
in the
outside of, just tight outside of the garage.
I think we have a similar condition when you put a turnaround at the end of your driveway, when you're backing out of any two-car garage or anything else, if you have an opportunity
sit at the table if you'd like. And then you'll be at the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say too, I mean, I'm looking at what I included in the packet is the site plan for 8062, and it appears to me that it's from, I mean, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears this is the garage right here, and it shows 13 feet, basically, of turnaround area with a 12-foot wide driveway. So it's certainly, if anything, it's greater. This is more than what 8062 has, and you would also have, I think Susan was kind of getting to it, there's the additional 5 feet from the driveway to the east property line, and then also some additional maneuverability to that area to the north. So there's,
What is this line right here?
that is also the drainage easement. The drainage easement takes a weird turn where it kind of hooks from the east and then the south, and then goes to basically where the building, the western line of the building is.
There is some storm sewer that runs parallel to the roadway, is the reason for that additional drainage easement.
Well, I think we've kind of gone off the rails here. All right, let's get back on track. It's really about the front yard setback, which before the code change would have been legal conforming, correct?
Well, then their setbacks would have changed, so they could have been 12 feet, would have been a side, and then they would have had to been 50 feet from the east property line, so they might have still been here, I'm not sure.
Why did they change the code, just out of curiosity?
To put the front setback off the CAD and not off of
Oh, that's
the
right.
adjacent.
Yeah, you said
It
that.
made more sense to have it off the CAD than the front based off.
I
Basically,
know
yeah,
that's been an issue over the years.
it would have been 12 feet from the CAD and the northern property line, so it would have had to been a little bit longer as opposed to wide.
There are actually other roads that we've had multiple issues with that in the past. Okay. Okay. Anything else, Dave? Dorothy? No? Paul? No? Teresa? Nope. I don't have anything. Somebody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield?
I can do it.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, you can sit down if you want.
Wait, did we do public comments?
Oh,
I don't
that's
think there
right.
are
Anybody
anybody.
from the public want to make a comment? Seeing none, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The board reviews section 307.06 of the rezoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variances requested in sections 806.05, 806.07, 807.01, and 807.02 to allow for a front setback of 12 feet, a rear setback of 47 feet, and a driveway setback of 0 feet, and a turning pad width of 18 feet for the side load garage in a suburban residential SR zoning district as follows. The property in question would not yield a reasonable return, and there cannot be beneficial use of the property without the variance. And that's basically just because of the way the setbacks sit today based on the changes. The variance is substantial. I don't know what the percentage is, since there's so many different variances there, or percentages there. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. Is there any question, Susan, on access for fire or anything of that nature?
They did not have any comments. I think they've already reviewed everything when they went through the plating process.
The property owner did purchase the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction. However, the zoning restrictions changed during the timeframe.
Good point.
we would, I would say no.
So I would say, I would agree. I would say no.
Yeah, I agree.
Did not purchase?
Yep, because they changed.
The property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through the method other than a variance. The spirit intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting this variance. Any questions?
I do not. I just. Okay, you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Dave Boone moved to incorporate exhibits, is it A through D?
E through D, yeah.
Oh, he
We got
gave
the
us,
extra
he
packet.
gave us the extra packet, so it'll be E now.
Move to incorporate exhibits A through E, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 30706 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence, and to approve the requested variance from sections 806.05, 806.07, 807.01, and 807.02 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA 2002-09. Application received October 20th, 2022 to allow for a front setback of 12 feet, a rear setback of 47 feet, a driveway setback of 0 feet, and a turning pad within a 18 feet for the side load garage on property known as 8063 in Genoa Place subdivision 6916 Worthington Road, Westerville, Ohio 43082, zoned suburban residential SR. This motion is based on the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution, that such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest, because, somebody want to add to that?
Well, it won't be because the rules changed on it.
I don't think it would be contrary to public interest because the property sits back, number
That's right.
one, and,
It'll
Well-
fit with the other two.
Here, I'll help
Three
you out.
homes.
The applicant stated that it makes the property unbuildable without the variance.
that owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because without granting the variance, that this lot is probably unusable for building. That the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby because, again, this lot would be unusable if we did not grant the variance for the so use of the building of the house stated.
Subject to,
Are there any conditions?
there are.
Approval to the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions, and incorporate any of the board wishes to apply. All required permits, zoning, and otherwise be obtained pursuant to section 30711 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. The approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void ab initio, and required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Extensions to the variance may be requested pursuant to the sections 307.11.a and b of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. The Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance in their discretion, at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11.a of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as it may be amended. Motion seconded by?
Second.
Any other discussion, questions for staff? Okay. Should I call the roll? Yeah. Okay, Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. Hu.
Yes.
Chair votes no. Motion carries. Your variance is approved.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and the hearing is adjourned at 8:27. Okay.
That he passed out for the.
Here, let's take 5 real quick
Here.
and get. And we're back at 8:30. We can't see you, Paul, when you sit down. All right, we're going to open the final hearing this evening at 8:30 PM. And let me read the legal notice into the record, and then we'll swear everybody in. Brian and Zoe Lynn Zabrowski, did I get close? No. Okay, requesting approval of a variance to allow an addition to the principal building to encroach into the required 12-foot side setback at 6241 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, Lot 89 in the Reno-Ferguson subdivision, currently zoned suburban residential, SR, and this is BZA case 2022-10. If you would all stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. Okay, the legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on November 1st, 2022 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on October 27th, 2022. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following are marked as exhibits A through D, the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, and the staff report dated November 10th, 2022. And we will begin with staff.
The subject property is known as Lot 89 in the Reno Ferguson addition. That plat was recorded in November of 1953. The applicants own two adjacent parcels, a 2.1 acre parcel, which is the subject property, which the house is located on, and then they also own an additional half-acre parcel to the east of the lot with the house on it. According to the Delaware County Auditor's site, the house located on this property was built in 1955. There's a 528 square foot garage that was built in 1968, and a 1,300 square foot pole barn that was built in 1969. I did not find any zoning permits for any of these structures, but given the age of the buildings, it's understandable that we didn't have permits on file. According to the Delaware County Auditor's website, the property was purchased by the applicants in August of 2004. Prior to receipt of the application, I did have a conversation, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the name because I won't do it well, with the applicant concerning the setbacks, and the application then was submitted on October 21st, 2021. The only comment staff had was that they could continue to build onto the house as it is. The survey presented said that the current setback was 11.1 feet, so they could add on that existing, so because they would not increase the nonconformity of the lot, because the current side yard setback is 12. Again, we did send the application to police, fire, and maintenance. They did not have any concerns. We did place a sign on the front of the lot and send notifications to the adjacent neighbors.
It's a good size addition. Okay, let's hear from the applicant.
So unlike when we purchased the house in 2004, we now have 2 kids. We have a couple of boys that live next door now, so the 2 acres definitely gets used a lot, and our kids are getting bigger. We need more space. We're 4 people in 1,650 square feet.
No basement.
No basement. So we're wanting to, which is not part of this, but we are adding a 40-foot straight back addition off of the house. And on the back of that addition, which the back side of our house is the part of the house that gets the majority of the sunlight. The house, rises up that way. You don't lose any sunlight off that patio until late afternoon, or at least on our current patio, which would be the same on the addition. So the part that is actually in the variance isn't the addition. It is literally the 6 foot of covered patio we'd like to have so that we can attempt to enjoy that patio. Because it's hot. It's flat out in the sun for the majority of the day and the hottest part of the day. So having that extra 6 feet to cover some of the patio in the back of the house. And the back of the house is there's gonna be 3 sliding glass doors, 2 coming out of the living room and 1 coming out of the new master. So it will help alleviate a little bit of that sun and heat coming in the back of the house for us.
It'll just also allow us to use some more outdoor area, because if you look out to the back of the property, we're in a slim lot, but
Yeah.
essentially, we have
And we're
a beautiful view
diagonal.
out the back of the house.
Yeah.
To all the woods and everything behind us. which would be, you know, it's a little bit of suburban heaven with, you know, we're in city, but we still have our own, you know, bit of woods and everything else. It's just the problem is the way the lot lines are drawn compared to the way the houses face. It's not very
Oh,
conducive to,
It's offset,
Yeah.
isn't it?
We kind of got
Yes.
stuck, and that was kind of even,
so you can look at our neighbors next to us, they did an
Yeah.
addition the year before above.
Yeah, we see that a lot on 3C
Yes.
Highway.
yeah, we
Yeah.
just need more
Charles and Paul.
space.
We just need more
Yeah.
space. They've done 2 additions, and this is their final one.
And we don't want to move.
We don't want to move.
Our kids go to Genoa Christian.
We now have
We're 5 minutes
sidewalks.
from school. We have all the parks around us. We now finally have a sidewalk on our road. Like we live through that construction. Like we don't want to go anyplace else. We're, 3 minutes from a grocery store, or my parents are down in Westerville.
Our kids go to Genoa Christian, we can
Yeah.
bike and walk, rollerblade to and from school. It's
We
great.
just need it a little more usable
Space.
for 4 people.
So it's
You haven't
actually,
started the addition yet?
Nope.
No.
No.
so actually the addition structure itself stays within the limits.
Yep.
It's just
Right.
the
Yep.
covered,
It's just
the
that
covering
covered
of the
patio.
patio
Mhm.
goes over.
The patio was left uncovered.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah,
Yes.
right, yeah.
Uncover
We
your
would be
phone.
fine, absolutely. We'd be totally fine if we uncovered it. However, living with the way we've had our patio now completely uncovered, it is absolutely much more enjoyable if we could have some covered patio. Because we want to be outside.
Because the sun comes across the back of the
Yep.
property.
Yes, that's east.
Yes.
Yep, that's at the very back is east. So yeah, the majority of the day, the sun is beating it, like on the back of the house.
You're actually challenged. So what is the sun facing? Where are you facing?
I'm the same way this building is.
I mean, east or west or?
It faces west, so I'm the same way this building is. The sun's coming up this way. Yeah, the back of the house.
Okay.
And with those 3 sliders that we planned on putting back there, that's just gonna be a lot of extra heat coming in the house, and we won't be able to enjoy it. Well, I mean, we'll enjoy the patio, we'll, a little temporary something, but it would be nicer if we could
To
have,
have a covered outdoor
Yeah.
space, you get more
put a
use.
fan up and something, it'd be better.
Okay. Okay. That thing is narrow, jeez. 100 feet. And it goes back 1,000 feet.
Well, that's just the main 2 acres if you add on.
Right, and then plus the other, what? What else?
We have a runway.
Nice bocce court.
Well, I was gonna say, it looks good for a drag strip to me, but that's just me.
That's what the kids think.
Don't tell the boys.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant, anyone, or staff? No? I'm gonna say it, but I can already see, there are no members of the public here, but in case there are, anyone's hiding behind the chair. out
Apparently our
there.
neighbors like us.
Yeah, well, that helps. Okay, so there's no public comment, so let's move on to discussion. Anybody? No?
Took me a while to figure out that this is well up of that.
It's a blow up.
Yeah.
I thought there was 2 houses
I
on the lot.
thought there was a giant house next to it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I don't have any comments. So, does somebody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield on this?
I can, I think it's my turn. All right, the board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 806.06 to allow for a side setback of 6 feet in a suburban residential zoning district as follows. The property would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. Since we're looking at just covering a patio, I mean, still be a patio. The variance is substantial, because it's 50%, right? 'Cause it's 12.
Yeah.
It is substantial, it's a 50% variance. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, because the patio's there, it's just gonna be covered. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, because they had no comments indicating that it would. The property owner did purchase the property, yes, did purchase the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction. It was there when they purchased the property. The property owner's predicament, I guess, can be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance, in that they just don't cover the patio.
That's the question I always struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, technically. But there's a reason they
Yeah.
want it to be covered, so.
Yeah, and
I mean, I guess you could do a covered patio without attaching it, there's those.
There is that, there's,
But-
I mean, it
You
can.
could hope it rained
But it
all the
kind of,
time.
you know, the way I look at those, Dave, is that, you know, what's the utility factor? It's much more, they're gonna have much more utility from it, covered than uncovered. And I see that, you know,
They could hope it was cloudy all the time, there wasn't any sun.
well, it is Ohio, but.
This is a bad week to talk about that.
I know, you're right. You're absolutely right.
All right, one more. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance, since we're talking about covering a planned.
And this is a fixed structure, cover,
We're just going to continue the roof line
The
off
trusses.
the, off the addition.
Yep.
okay.
So the
Peak
way the roof
roof
line would come
all the
off
way
like
out.
this, because it's gonna attach in the back of the house like this.
Yeah,
So if there was no covered patio, it would just,
We'd
Kinda
have to
die
stop
out.
it
it
sooner.
would just end at the end
There's
of the
small
house.
So there's-
trusses.
even if, to make it temporary, it would just
Aesthetically, it's gonna
not
look
be aesthetically.
better if it's
Yeah.
covered, because it's just a continuous roof.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're just
Just wanted to
continuously that
clarify.
truss line.
Yeah, okay, all right,
Okay,
that's it.
that's it.
Anybody
That was
want
G.
a motion?
I'll make a motion. Okay. I move to incorporate exhibits, what were they, A through D?
Yep.
As well as the board's finding pertinent to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 806.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions for BZA 2022-10, application received October 20th, 2022, to allow for right side setback of 6 feet on the property known as Lot 89 in Renoa Ferguson subdivision, 6241 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio 43082, zone suburban residential SR. The motion is based on the following findings of facts pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions, that such a variance or modifications will not be contrary to the public interest because it is covering for a patio. That owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the zoning resolutions will result in an unnecessary hardship because it just makes sense to do it, and there's no other way of having the sun not beat into their house, and they wouldn't be able to use the patio as well when it's covered up. I mean, because it's not covered up. That the approval of such variance or modification therefore is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby because it's contrary to not do it. It just makes sense to have it done. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. Are there any incorporations that we need to do beyond the standard?
Yeah.
That all required permits, zoning or other side be obtained pursuant to section 307.11, the Genoa Township zoning resolutions. The approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of the motion of approval. Extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11.A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions as may be amended. The Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadline established within section 307.11.A of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions as may be amended.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Anyone else? Then I will do the roll call. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion's approved. Enjoy your construction.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting all this time,
It's
too.
okay. Let's hope the prices come down a little bit.
Yeah,
By the
oh,
time
yeah.
we get started.
Okay, and the hearing is adjourned at 8:47. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I have one quick item of note, and then we can entertain a motion to adjourn, is we talked about revising, updating the rules of procedure once zoning has had theirs finished, which I understand is now finished. And I understand also that there weren't any substantial changes to their rules of procedure. What I would suggest doing, and we can do whatever you want to do, is between now and the end of March, review their revisions, review the rules of procedure for zoning, and then entertain revising to conform to theirs. And that gives us 3 or 4 months to do that. And then when we go into the next term, basically, we can entertain any revisions that we need to make. Maybe none, I don't know.
Did they make drastic changes or not?
I'm told not. I have not seen it, but I am told that they didn't make any substantial changes. And so maybe we want to see them. Maybe we don't want to make any changes. I know there are a couple things in ours that are a little outdated. They carried over from the ones that we worked from a couple years ago.
We were to look at it.
Yeah, I think they were like 10 years old when we did it before, but now we're getting, 3 or 4 years down the road. We probably should at least revisit them again.
Anyway.
I think I still have it on the computer.
Okay. So if that's acceptable with everybody, then we'll do that. Next year, we'll take a look at it and then try and get it done like the first quarter, somewhere around in there, if that's okay.
You want those, you want an email to you so you can?
Yes.
You're wanting to look at the zoning commission?
Yes, please.
And then would you also like the current BZA just in case?
I have mine, I'm pretty sure, but it probably wouldn't hurt just to attach that as well, so we can see if we need to make. I don't think I'm told there's not any big, huge changes though. So I just want to be a little more in sync with zoning is all. So, okay, that's all I had. Anyone have anything else? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Anyone second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Then we're adjourned.